Welcome to the first lesson in Introduction to Coaching. The first lesson is what is coaching and how is it used? My name is Grace Minton. I'm the owner-operator of the Inspiration Factory and a professional coach and coach trainer, and I'm going to enjoy working with you over this e-learning program looking at coaching and NLP as a coaching methodology. I hope that you will feel free to make comments below each lesson and that we may have some interaction in that way. So let's start out with defining coaching. These are some definitions of coaching. Unlocking a person's potential to maximise their performance, from Sir John Whitmore, the creator of the GROW model, which is very famous in coaching. Coaching is partnering with clients in a thought-provoking and creative process that inspires them to maximise their personal and professional potential. That's from the International Coach Federation, which is the independent professional association that is most global and pretty much creating the standard for professional coaching internationally. Last of all, the art of facilitating the performance, learning and development of another. It's from an author, Downey, 1999, and a book about executive coaching. Let's start by looking at some definitions of coaching. John Whitmore, the founder of the GROW model in coaching, wrote that coaching is unlocking a person's potential to maximise their performance. The International Coach Federation, the largest professional association for coaches, wrote, coaching is partnering with clients in a thought-provoking and creative process that inspires them to maximise their personal and professional potential. And last of all, Downey, an author on executive coaching, wrote the art of facilitating the performance, learning and development of another. And all of these reflect something very core about coaching, which is that it's about increasing performance and maximising potential. It's an interaction that most often takes place between two people where the coach facilitates the other person to move forward in their thinking or just move into action. The coach, through their capacity to build rapport, ask questions and listen, supports the other person to achieve a shift that he or she has not been able to achieve alone. What that shift is up to the client to define or decide on. And coaching is similar to some other things that involve two people and lots of listening and questioning. So it's really important to look at what it isn't and how it relates to things like counselling and therapy, which may look similar. On this continuum, we have the concept of the average or normal life performance or work performance here in the middle. And then the unresourceful, as we'd call it in NLP, state, which would be the realm of counselling, where someone is supported through one-on-one or group therapy and counselling by a professional who understands psychopathology, may be diagnosing or looking for deep psychological issues, personality problems, in general, able to create a treatment plan and be expert on getting that person from -10 to back to normal or average. Coaching, on the other hand, is more like coaching in athletics, where people are seeking to go from normal without a problem and become exceptional or like champions, if you like, of their field. So in coaching, we understand that people may be just fine the way they are, but have some untapped potential and ability. And coaching is intended to help them reach their peak performance or their full potential in that area. Below the line here, there's some terminology: suffering, floundering and flourishing, and that's from the field of positive psychology, which has a lot of beautiful information to offer coaching. It's very compatible with the field of coaching. That's a psychology that's also interested in taking people from normal average and looking at being extremely happy. So the happiness and well-being is the field or outcome of positive psychology, defined as flourishing. Other Partnerships between two people that may be similar but different to coaching include mentoring, where someone is providing advice and direction based on their past experience. Mentoring is essentially provided by someone who has literally trodden the path that the mentee wishes to travel. So they're able to provide advice and direction on things that you might not learn in technical training, and can only really avoid having to learn through mistakes when other people are generous enough to share the knowledge they gained from their own journey. So mentoring is a beautiful thing and has a long tradition in human society, and is quite similar to coaching in the skills of the mentor often involve listening and questioning and helping someone find their own answers. But mentoring can also be very directive indeed. A mentor may not have very much time and may simply make statements such as do this, don't do that, that would be a mistake, and that's perfectly fine in mentoring. Consulting is where someone is engaged as an expert in their field. They've often got professional expertise such as a qualification, and they're able to advise. So a consultant very rarely does that just one-on-one. They would normally also be gathering data about a situation, doing some kind of diagnosis of it, and then making recommendations. So consulting isn't just a one-on-one relationship, but many consultants, management consultants, organisational development consultants, also combine leadership coaching in their practice because they're very compatible. But it's still important to know what the difference is and what hat you're wearing in what different moments with your clients. Counselling, we've talked about a little bit. Fundamentally, it's facilitating someone to be resilient during or recover from difficulty. And often the client would feel unresourceful. So counselling has often a focus on emotions and getting into a normal resourceful state to be able to fully function in society. Therapy is working with someone in a diagnostic or mental illness framework where the therapist is considered the expert on what the person's situation is in terms of their mental state, and be able to propose the right plan of treatment for them. There are many different types of therapy, so we don't want to generalise too much, but needless to say, it is not the same as coaching, in that coaching is really looking at working with people who are functioning fully in society and would like to make a change that they haven't been able to make alone. Some of the outcomes that people seek from coaching in the workplace. Essentially, coaching is about helping people reach high performance, so improving performance in one area of their role, even when individuals are already performing well in other aspects of the role. So when managers invest in a coach coming into the workplace, they're usually just seeking a change in performance in one area, and they really don't want to have to lose someone. So that's performance coaching. Many leaders and executives are already performing just fine, and coaching is provided to help with support and challenge. So in the past, there was a lot more informal mentoring in the workplace, and nowadays that's really broken down with the amount of change and the totally new pathways that have developed in very short periods of time. And coaching provides a kind of holding space that allows people with very challenging roles to have some support and process the learning from their experience and continue to grow without having to take time out to do things like go to formal training. Stretch coaching is about stimulating and managing the individual's growth to deliver greater organisational performance. So creating really quite challenging outcomes for the coaching, and then providing coaching to support someone to actually achieve that. Coaching is often blended with other things such as workshops or other forms of development for leaders, and has an extremely high rate of success for helping people achieve change and learning. Life coaching is a massively growing area, and there are many niche areas, which I'll talk about in a moment. However, overall, you could say that there are some biggies that people have been using coaching to achieve in terms of outcomes. Career coach is extremely popular because at the moment there's a big search for a need for meaningful work in our society. So quite often people later in their career start to realise that perhaps the early decisions they made around their career weren't reflecting what they now know to be true about their values, and they seek more satisfaction and meaning in their job. And a career coach can really help someone to process that and to make a transition, a self-initiated transition. Life direction and balance is a big driver of coaching, for life coaching, where people take stock of the life they've built and make decisions and plans to line their life up with their values in order to have greater satisfaction and happiness. So this often includes a balance between their work and other elements of their life. Personal development goals are pretty common for coaching, particularly in NLP coaching. So people who are seeking to create changes in self-esteem, self-image, self-belief in order to then create larger outcomes in their life overall, such as a feeling of flourishing or happiness, or being able to make those other things around life direction and balance happen. Last of all, there are hundreds of niche areas that have developed for coaches. This reflects the need for coaches to diversify in order to make a living. And some of the big ones are health and well-being, parenting, relationship coaching, working with teens, spirituality and coaching. There are many areas where people seek to get support to create a change they haven't been able to make alone. And when a coach creates a niche area, they develop a real sense of expertise in that area and tend to speak or blog or research a lot on that topic. So it allows them to really attract people from a specific element of the larger market of public coaching. When we think about coaching, there are ways of categorising the coaching. One of the main ways would be the market that someone works with. So are they working in the workplace as a coach or working directly with the client as a public client? That would be life coaching or personal coaching. Another way is to think about their main methodology. So some coaches develop expertise in a particular methodology, and people may seek them out because of that and the outcomes they can get with that methodology. In general, this next way of categorising coaching I've found quite useful because it talks more about the how of the coaching in general, or the style, if you like, of the coach. And the first type is performance coaching. So in general, all coaching is interested in helping take someone to high performance or full potential in whatever area it is that they want to maximise. And in the workplace, particularly in small business and executive coaching, leadership coaching, performance is understood to be performance in the role, so that someone is able to really perform their role well and with competence and high performance. So performance coaching, say for small business, would be often with the manager or owner of the small business, and is often involving a coach who has a background or experience in small business and is able to help the owner or manager to master things that they may not have any training or experience in or even passion for, but that's essential to succeed for the business. So performance coaching does often involve that the coach has some background or expertise in the workplace. Performance coaching is often performed by people who have a background in management or management consulting or human resources or learning and development. And then coaching is overlaid on top of those skills as a process that allows people to achieve high performance more easily. Performance coaching can sometimes border on mentoring, and the coach is expected to understand what high performance looks like in the field they're working in. They're expected to understand organisational systems and politics and the kind of things that go on in organisations if they're doing performance coaching with people in the workplace. And if they're a coach in small business, they're expected to understand marketing, sales, the demands of a small business on an owner or an operator. Process coaching is more pure coaching, if you like, in that it allows the coach to focus purely on facilitating the process of helping someone achieve their agenda or outcome. A process-based coaching is the coach's ability to use the skills of coaching to facilitate someone to change their thinking, create new understandings or reframe new meanings, and generate decisions and actions that allow them to move forward. And it wouldn't matter what the topic is. So the coach doesn't have to have expertise to be able to perform that coaching. And this is coaching in its quite pure form. I would say that the International Coach Federation competencies really define, for me, process coaching in its purity. And a good workplace or executive coach is capable of process coaching, not simply an understanding or knowledge of what performance is, what the gaps in performance are, and the kind of things that someone needs to do to be a high performer. Last but not least is the concept of inner game coaching, which is a really core and early concept in coaching. The idea that the coach works with the client's inner game. This comes from Timothy Galway, who wrote a book early on called The Inner Game of Tennis. And he wrote that in every human endeavour, there are two arenas of engagement, the outer and the inner. The outer game is played on an external arena to overcome external obstacles to reach an external goal. The inner game takes place within the mind of the player and is played against such obstacles as fear, self-doubt, lapses in focus, and limiting concepts or assumptions. The inner game is played to overcome the self-imposed obstacles that prevent an individual or team from accessing their full potential. So this concept of focusing on the inner game in order to become a champion really came about in a moment in sport where there were large fields of people who had reached peak physical fitness and technique, and the differentiator in that field was their internal process, how they managed their fear, their self-doubt, how they managed to focus, what assumptions they made. So coaches at that top level were able to support their athletic client, if you like, to master the inner game, not just their external technique and fitness. And this has transferred into all types of coaching, whether it's leadership coaching or life coaching. But a coach that is interested in working at this level with their client also doesn't have to have trodden the path that they have trodden, because they're working with facilitating a change in their internal process. And people's interest in inner game coaching often may also be discussed as a kind of transformational coaching, where you're really looking at how does someone create meaning, how do they see themselves, what are their perceptions of the environment, and are they able to be changed. So the kind of outcomes that may be very internal but then lead to external changes in behaviour, as well as changes in state. So inner game coaching isn't so focused on generating actions so much as generating an internal process change. And coaches that are very interested in this, people that are attracted to coaching for that kind of outcome with their clients, often learn NLP as a methodology, and this e-learning program will be looking at NLP in detail. Overall, you could also sum up the philosophy behind coaching as being that you can reach your goals and achieve your potential without the struggle and hard work of doing it all alone. It has more of a learning and development frame than a psychology frame. So it's really very, very influenced by the human potential movement and humanistic psychology. And in the next module, we'll be looking at coaching as a reflective learning activity and what does it mean that it has a learning and development frame. I hope you will join me for that module also. Thank you.